Howdy folks, and welcome to this week's episode of If My Pet Spoke English. This week we'd like to talk to your pets about rabies. To start off, we did some preliminary interviews of local Tucson pets to get a lay of the land. Here's what we found out. What do you know about rabies virus? Thank you for your time, sir. That was very informative. Oh, sir, sorry to interrupt, but can you tell us anything about the rabies virus? Thank you for your time, sir. I found those videos to be very concerning, didn't you? Here's Delaney. To get your pets informed, take it away, Delaney.
We would like to teach you a little bit more about the rabies virus. The history of rabies is that rabies in Latin means madness. It originated before written history and has influenced the relationship between man and dogs, creating caution around animals that seem mad or crazed. Some of the earliest records of rabies came from 2300 BC Ashuna, a Babylonian city where people were fined for having dogs that bit others and resulted in their death. Rabies was common and well known in the Greek and Roman empires. A Roman physician by the name Celus had a treatment for wounds caused by a rabid animal that remained widely accepted from 45 AD till the 1900s. The first case of rabies reported in the Americas was in Mexico by a priest in 1703. The disease swept the entire world over centuries until it was noted on every continent on the globe except Antarctica. In the 1880s, Louis Pasteur and Emily Roques developed a vaccine which was first tested in 1885 on Joseph Meester, who had been bit by a rabid dog. He was the first person to be successfully treated for rabies, and the vaccine they created is still used today. Folklore in rabies revolved around zombies, vampires, and also werewolves. For zombies, rabies, when contracted in humans, can result in zombie-like behavior. Anxiety, confusion, and hallucinations, as well as partial or full paralysis, is seen. For vampires, vampire bats are the leading cause of transmission of rabies in Latin America. Additionally, rabies results in hypersensitivity to stimulation, such as light, odors, mirrors, or garlic, aggressive behavior, the biting of other people being common, and also hypersexuality. For werewolves, as with rabies, becoming a werewolf results from the bite of another infected individual. Rabies also results in the manic, anxious, and aggressive mixed with moments of sanity, as is seen in werewolves. So what is the rabies virus? The rabies virus has a bullet shape. It is a negative-stranded RNA virus, single-stranded RNA, and is considered neurotropic, which is invasive infection of the central nervous system. The average time for symptoms appear after infection approximately 1 to 3 months. As for how this is transmitted, it's considered a zoonotic disease, meaning there's transmission between animals and humans. The modes of transmission are saliva, transferred through bite or scratch of an infected animal. This can also result from contact of saliva with an open wound. Disease reservoirs come in 2 different sections. For wild animals, you can find rabies in raccoons, skunks, bats, foxes, coyotes, and a common source of transmission in the U.S. is those. For domestic animals, there are cats, cattle, dogs, and the common source of transmission in Africa, Latin America, and Southeast Asia. In the U.S., most domestic animals are vaccinated. Symptoms seen in humans are difficulty swallowing, excessive salivation, fear of water or hydrophobia, hallucinations, insomnia, partial paralysis, fever, headache, nausea, vomiting, agitation, anxiety, confusion, and hyperactivity. Once symptoms appear in humans, the disease is almost always fatal. In dogs, you can find pica, the jaw is dropped, change in tone of bark, muscular lack of coordination, unusual shyness or aggression, excessive excitability, constant irritability, changes in attitude and behavior, and excessive salivation or frothy saliva. As for prevention measures, the number one way to prevent rabies is to get vaccinated. Even though the vet may seem scary, they are only trying to help. So make sure the next time you visit your vet, you get your rabies vaccination. This is the best way to prevent getting rabies. The next way to prevent rabies is to be cautious about playmates. Wild animals such as squirrels, rabbits, and bats, as well as stray dogs and cats, can all carry the virus, so choose your playmates wisely. Lastly, stay in the yard. Even if your ball goes over the fence, a mailman walks by, or even your best friend Doug the Pug is playing in the park across the street. Stay in your yard unless your owner is with you. They can help prevent contact with rabid animals.
Well, that's all we got for you today, folks. Thank you for joining us here at If My Pet Spoke English. Join us for next week's episode. Is it a shoe? Is it a chew toy? How can I tell? Thanks, folks.